Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hard Knock Hawks. I'm Anthony, along with Chris, Leon, and Marco. This is the podcast where we like to talk about our favorite basketball team, the Atlanta Hawks. Today, we're going to be talking about all the moves the Hawks made during the trade deadline. We are also going to be talking a little bit about the games the Hawks did play during last week, but probably 90% of the episode is going to be about the trades the Hawks did make during the deadline. So, before we go into trades, we're just going to give you a little update about last week's games. The Hawks did break a 8-game losing streak, the longest losing streak they had since 2019, by winning on the road against Detroit after losing 2 games against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Indiana Pacers on the road. Sadly, they did lose a close game against San Antonio due to a poor first half. So they went 1-3 during the stretch. Congrats to Leon and Chris for their correct predictions last week. The Hawks are the 9th seed currently with a 20th ranked offense and 17th ranked defense. So now we're just gonna move on and just talk about these trades that happened today. So the first trade we're gonna be talking about is the biggest trade. Cody Zeller got traded for his second round pick and the rights of Alpha Kappa. So I'm gonna start with this trade first. Marco, what's your thoughts on this trade?
Next question. Is somehow Alpha Kappa is back, and that's hilarious. That's all I have to say on that one.
Nice to see you gone, Cody Zeller.
Our long national nightmare with Cody Zeller is over. If you don't remember, Cody Zeller was a guy that was a part of the DeJounte Murray trade for Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance, and the Lakers pick and the Milwaukee Bucks pick swap in 2027. He was just adding in as salary. He never played for us. So the Hawks basically just sent him away, and he just got traded to Houston Rockets to contender as like a fourth center. So I'm fine with this. This is clearly just a luxury tax move. They literally just sent away second pick for it. So it is what it is. We got open roster spot at least. So yeah, there's nothing really special about it. I just wanted to get this trade out the way before we talk about the bigger trade, which is the DeAndre Hunter trade. DeAndre Hunter was traded for Caris LeVert, George Niang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. DeAndre Hunter has been on this team since 2019. He's been with Ox in the Eastern Conference Finals run. He only played during the Knicks series, but missed the 76ers and Bucks series during that year. He had his best year ever during the season. He was a 6-man of the year contender. And it's obvious that they were trying to sell high on him. I'm going to start with you, Leon. What's your thoughts on this trade?
I know there are a lot of fans who feel as though we should have sold higher on DeAndre Hunter than we did, but he looked really good this year, and it was really nice to get back some shooting and some cap relief and some type of draft compensation for our former number 4 overall pick. Obviously, we know his history. The rest of the league does too. They've done their due diligence. They do that before they trade for people. So, and for players. So, thanks for everything he's done for us. But it's nice to add a little bit of flexibility moving forward. The contract just was a bit too much for his optimized role on this team. But he played well this year, so he was able to land on another team, championship contender, and best of luck to him moving forward. Marco?
Like Leon said, a lot of fans felt like we should have gotten more for Dre, but honestly, literally last year, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, last season, we were talking about how you're going to have to attach a pick to Dre because Dre has been very limited in his availability. Dre was a very one-dimensional player, still very much is. Um, and it wasn't really, like I said, you thought you were going to have to attach a pick to him. So getting off of him without attaching any real assets was like literally the best thing. He's having his best year. He's like first in 25-point games off the bench and some other stuff like that. So it's like he got his value high. Hawks went out there and told him, "Hey, get that value high, and you got what you can get for him, and that's fine." You got off of his contract. You freed up $40 million off him alone. So I feel like it's a dub. You got Caris, who helps with our playmaking, playmaking, ball handling, shooting, some other stuff. He helps with that. Then you got Niang, who helps with shooting a lot, so can't really be too mad at the return. You got what you could get for Dre. You freed up that money. Now you're going into the 25 offseason with flexibility. So can't be too mad. Chris?
Yeah, that was probably the best you're gonna get for DeAndre Hunter. His value is a lot higher than it was this time last year when you would have had to give up a first, and you got rid of him for an expiring and a guy that can shoot in Niang. So they're in position. They have access to their money sooner. I think that was their goal there. I think if you told them that this was the result of Dre's first half of the season, they would have jumped at it like they did and made the trade. So, yeah, this was a solid trade for Landry and Kyle. And, yeah, we'll see what comes of it. This type of deal, it's about what you do with the money. So we'll see how it goes.
I think it's really interesting to see how the Hawks were able to get this much. Well, I should say this much. I don't think it's the right word for it, but I feel like a few months ago, they probably weren't able to even get a George Niang or a Caris LeVert, honestly, for DeAndre Hunter, or even like the 32nd round picks or the pick swaps. It probably would have just been Caris LeVert and the pick swaps, and that's it, right? But now, like I mentioned earlier, Leo, right? He's been having this incredible year so far. But the main issue with DeAndre Hunter has been is that he's had consistent injury concerns that has caused him to be out for long periods of time. And even though the contract may be seen as good value now, if he gets hurt again and he's out for a significant amount of time, that contract may be seen as bad again. So I feel that the Hawks did the right thing here, selling high on Dre, because they are having such a hard time doing it for years. I'm glad they didn't give up anything for it, especially considering that eventually they may had to if DeAndre Hunter wasn't performing like he was. And overall, I think we do have some good depth pieces that we're going to talk about later on in the episode that can help this team going forward. But now we're going to talk about the Bogey trade, which I think is another interesting trade because they did buy a little bit into this trade. This is Bogey and 3 round picks for Terance Mann and Bones Hyland. The main thing about this trade is interesting is that Terance Mann signed an extension this year, and he has 2 years left for this season. So I think it's clear that the Hawks were actually really interested in Terance Mann. He's had a down season this year, and we were talking offline earlier with Leon and Chris and Marco. Terance Mann did have like an ankle injury this year earlier, so this could be an interesting buy low opportunity for the Hawks. What's your thoughts, Chris, on Terance Mann getting traded here?
Chris, you want to start this one?
That's a professional guard who just kind of can do the job. I don't know. Is Nick Markakis like a nice cross-sport analogy in terms of a guard? He does the things you want a professional guard to do. He's 6'5", good defense. He's going to shoot the three enough. He's going to handle the ball enough. He's going to pass enough. He's the really solid third guard to fit in behind Dyson. You don't have too many minutes that you need from that role. Really just a guy that can come in and, if nothing else, move the ball and play some defense. So you got that, and if you get a little offense with it, that's nice. This is a very empowering offensive scheme. Trey is actively trying to let the guys cook when he can. So yeah, it'll be nice to see what he can do. Marco?
Not gonna lie, I was actually shocked by the return of the Bogey trade because I had a hard time valuing how the league sees Bogey versus how fans and Hawks reporters saw Bogey's value. So honestly, I didn't know what you were going to get for him. I was very much caught up on him getting moved for like a very small deal, just because of where Bogey's at now, having a down year. Um, knee injuries, blah blah blah. So I didn't really know where to gauge Bogey for real. But his return was actually pretty surprising. In his return, you also did give up, I think, 2 seconds to move him, so you technically did give up attach assets to Bogey, but his seconds, it isn't like we hit on second round picks anyway. So you got Terance Mann back, like Chris said. He'll shoot the ball enough. He's a defender. He's a real all around guy. He fills up what you needed from Bogey. You got slightly more athletic Bogey who can hopefully you can recharge his juice because his role kind of diminished in Los Angeles. So it's you gotta hope you got your guard room set. So hope he can do the things we need him to do for this team, and that's fine with me. When it comes to Bones, I don't think we're keeping him. As of right now, as it's recorded, I don't think we're keeping him because he made a tweet talking about coming to Atlanta, and now he's deleted it. Like he deleted it like 30 minutes after he posted it. So it'll be interesting to see what we do with that. What we do with him, Leon.
Boogie's had a rough year. Obviously played great in the Olympics, but hasn't been great since he came back to the States. But your reputation can kind of propel you off of a roster with that team getting some decent assets back, and that's what we were able to get. Chris has said many times you want to kind of get another Dyson. Terance Mann is much older, but as far as skill set, they're very similar. I guess you could say that Terance is a bit more of a wing, more second side, but it looks like Dyson can really run the point. He's been doing a lot better job of that since Trey's been out. I mean, since others have been out and when Trey sits. But Terance Mann is going to be another versatile defender for us, defending 1 through 4. Knows how to move the ball on defense. Knows how to move the ball on offense. But if you really think about it, he's kind of Vit-like, but a way better defender. But as far as what they bring on offense, just doing a little bit of everything, very, very good all-around basketball player. And he went to Florida State, and those Florida State boys know how to play some defense. So that's good, Bones. I don't foresee ever seeing him in a Hawks jersey. Using a couple seconds to go get that haul with Bogey, I think I'm fine with that. And of course, more cap relief, which we'll get into later. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting with the guys we acquired in the last couple of days. Well, today.
I will say this about the Bogey trade. I think there's going to be a lot of conversation going forward about whether we should have traded him before the season started or afterwards. And I guess my argument for, not trading him before the season started was that, simply put, like, the Hawks desperately needed any kind of shooting on the roster. And I don't think they expected Bogey to have this sharp of a decline right now as he's having. I think he was probably injured, and was someone about to say something, or
No, my
No.
bad.
Okay. But I don't think they expected him to have this sharp of a decline during the season. I didn't, and I don't think anyone really expected that much. And I think I even said before, if they even got like 70% of what he did had last season, they'd probably be in a significantly better position than what they were than what they are right now, honestly. I feel the return is a little disappointing for what we did do, but like Leon said, Terance Mann is a utility guy. Um, I mean, one of the biggest reasons why Quinn's teams lost in the playoffs was because the Clippers used Terance Mann as a small ball five, and it basically decimated whatever Quinn was trying to do in the playoffs. It's a big reason why the Utah Jazz they have never made the finals. Those during like the early 2020s. I mean, he was a big part of the reason why the Clippers were pretty good during like the 2021, 2022 seasons. So I think buying low on Terrence Mann is just potentially a really good risk for them to do. He's also, I think I mentioned earlier as well, the only player on this whole team, on this whole trade that has a multiple years. So they do want to keep him unless it's just, multiple unless it's just multiple years, not multiple years, excuse me, just salary for another trade soon. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to use with Terrence Mann. We're going to talk about that more. But I do want to ask everyone here, now that I just went through all the trades, basically, what are your overall thoughts on the trade deadline? And I'll just start with you, Marco.
Like I said, you guys been keeping up with me on Twitter, and you're in the group chats, whatever. I gave it a B minus. Like I said, if I wanted to be petty, I could have gave it a C plus for the Brandon Ingram thing, but I don't really want to talk about that anymore. It was a B minus because you didn't put all your eggs in one basket, and you actually made deals to clean up for what you missed out on, like a GM is supposed to do. So I slander Landry sometimes, but like I said, he went with Plan B, got some better rotational players, so you don't have to keep running these Vit, Gary, Nance, Keaton lineups, and people that aren't really supposed to be touching the floor. You get actual NBA guys who's used to being in rotation, who's used to playing how they're supposed to do, who can fit in roles, who knows their roles, et cetera, et cetera. So you got guys that fit. You got guys that can defend. You also added some shooters. Both of them are shooting 35 plus from three. Well, we got three players in. Well, again, I don't know about Bones, but Terance Mann and Niang are definitely shooting 35 plus from three. So you got some guys that get some shots up. Niang hasn't taken less than like 4 threes a season. So I think he's like, you're going to get some high attempts out of that guy. Um, like you got better rotational players, so that helps more. You got some guys that can actually let Trey rest. You don't have to worry about sitting Trey for 5 minutes, and in that 5 minutes everything collapses because basketball is a game of run, and that small little run, everything just went left. So I said B minus. You got some flexibility. You did get some second round picks back. You didn't trade all your seconds. You did get some second round picks back. So yeah, B minus, B minus. Leon, how about you?
I was just gonna go a solid B. Obviously, I think striking out on Brandon Ingram is kind of like the blight of the trade deadline, but you got good value back, and yes, Clint's still on the team, but you still created so much cap space and got off two of the, 2 for 3 is pretty good. The execution I would give probably a C, but just the outcome I think a B is fine because it sets you up to still be players moving forward, and that it's kind of like this, right? Yeah, you could have went for Brandon Ingram this year, and that would have been great. However, if you're not going to do that, what are you going to do? Okay, I'm going to collect players that I think might maybe fit what I'm trying to do. I'm going to get some cap space. I'm going to get off these contracts so that this summer, if I want to be a player, I can. So that's why I'll give them a solid B. I'm a Hawks fan, so I'm always excited to see what new additions can bring to the team. I think it could do a little something for the rest of the year. Without Jalen, it'll be rough still, especially in some matchups. But I think the outcome is fine. Right? I think if you're a Hawks fan, you should be able to accept this. I don't think it's the end of the world. I know how it is. Every time we don't get what we want, we act like the sky is falling. Obviously, 8-game losing streak. It's hard to stay positive as a fan. But the guys seem to be doing a pretty good job of that. We'll see what happens after they move the guys that they moved. Trade deadline gives people a bit of uncertainty. And now everybody that's there know they're at least there till the end of the season. It could get interesting. I'll just say that. Chris?
Well, I guess I need to give them like a real grade. I don't know, C+. They did what they needed to do. It's not like exactly spectacular fashion, but you did manage to flip Dre and Bogey, I think, without giving up picks. So I think that was probably the objective. You didn't get off Clint, but he's expiring, which at the end of the day, the goal was to clear money. So it makes sense that he and I think Larry stayed. Yeah, I mean, you did kind of what you need to do. You turned one NBA player into multiple, and a lot of the Hawks' issues this season is just depth. They've been running like Trey, Zach, Double O, and Dre with like a bunch of G Leaguers for a while. So turning Dre into like 3-ish NBA players kind of gives you 6 right now. So that's a lot more than where you were, and you'll be able to navigate games and hopefully get some results. I think they feel a little obligated to this team to at least give them a chance to stay in the play-in. There's no motivation for losing, so getting some win now players in return was great. I will say Terance Mann probably the best pickup of all of them for the Hawks long term. I think he gives you that third guard behind Dyson who really fits what they're trying to do in terms of size and skill, especially behind Trey and around Trey. That guard spot now, you have legit 48 minutes of a guy who can defend the ball and really impact the game defensively and give you a chance to stop the other team and give Trey a fighting chance. And if you put Trey in position to win games in the fourth quarter, I think you'll win a few of them. So I think they did what they needed to do to kind of survive this season and set themselves up to have a chance to do something interesting in the summer. I'm definitely interested to see what Landry has planned. I'm not exactly sure what the next step is, other than draft and develop. Right now, this is big time for Zach to kind of step into a rotation role. I know people are upset about his minutes, but he's about to get like 26, 28 minutes a game for the rest of the season, which realistically is going to be like his role like for some time. Like that, what they asked him to do defensively, he's been running around a lot. You don't want to just run Zach into the ground this early. He's going to be here for a long time, so I'm sure they want to preserve him. So adding a bunch of bodies defensively gives you a chance to give Zach the ball, but then also not overwork anyone. You don't want to blow everybody's Achilles out down the stretch, running playoff minutes just to get through 82. So yeah, I think they did what they need to do. You get a C+. Terance Mann will be here for a few years, and we have to worry about Kobe Buffkin at least. So there's one thing.
My thoughts are, I'm going to give it a B. They did the Hunter trade. I think I was surprised that was the first trade that actually went through for the Hawks. I couldn't believe that the Cavs actually want Hunter that badly, but considering that they really don't have a real wing forward depth on their team. They Hunter is pretty much a big upgrade, but obviously Hunter has some real flaws, but they'll find out soon enough when he gets on there. But they moved Bogey for a guard that could actually be really good. As a buy low opportunity that I loved. Um, and for the most part, I think they're setting up their bench, like you, Chris, said, to hopefully just keep themselves in the play in, and maybe we can see more positive progress in the future. I'm going to talk a bit about the Brandon Ingram thing because I know that's the thing that I think everyone was really mad about. If the Brandon Ingram trade stuff did not happen, I feel like everyone would probably be feeling way better about this trade deadline. And my whole take on it is I think considering the fact that the uh Raptors just gave up the Pacers top 4 protected pick, which is kind of almost unprotected in a way, but not really. But we probably weren't going to be able to beat that offer. And I don't think they probably shouldn't have. I think Doc should try and keep their picks if they can, unless they should trade that Kings pick, which is a whole nother rant. And also, they wanted to keep players like Bruce Brown, which Jake Fisher reported they wanted to, sign him. I wanted Brandon Ingram to be here, but he can't. So, but that's okay. We'll just have to figure out what they're gonna do in the offseason. Um, but the main thing I'm gonna be interested in, like you said, Chris, is what are they gonna do in the offseason? People like Glenn Willis have said this, Brad Rowland, and even I'm gonna mention him as well. Bryce Lewis on Believe in Hawks. You can have all the flexibility you want, but the real question is what are you gonna do with it? Are they just going to sign like someone like Kuminga to like extension? The free agency class is pretty weak right now. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to make trades? They're going to have a lot of money. So, the real question is going to be what are they going to do to improve the roster? So, with all this cap space they're going to have, especially since Clint is also on expiring, that money is going to be gone. So, I mean, we just don't know what's going to happen. I think they are preparing next year, to me, that they are going to try and compete. I don't know what y'all think, but I think it does seem like they are trying next year to be an actual good team, not be a playing team, especially with Jalen's money actually going to be coming on the books and stuff. They want to be good next year, it seems like, especially with Trey's extension coming in the way. They're trying to do something. I don't know what it is, but they're trying to prepare for something. And I'm just hoping whatever it is, they're going to be able to pull it off because they can't have it where it's like a Brandon Ingram situation where they just going to get B and they don't have a plan B. Because if they don't have a plan B, then we're just going to have a bunch of space and it's just going to be absolutely nothing. So I'm just going to be really interested to see what happens during the offseason with all this cap space we got and the picks that we have. Hopefully the Lakers pick doesn't get too low because apparently the Lakers are on a tear right now. So, but I do want to, excuse me, talk about what are what do you guys think about how our new players are gonna affect this team? We could just talk about like any other player. So I do want to talk about. Actually, I'll start first with George Niang. What do you guys think what George Niang is gonna do for the team generally? Because I feel like he's will actually impact the team more than I think people expect. You can go
I
ahead
mean,
first, Leon.
he's a really good shooter. So, we've needed the shooting all season, and he can shoot it from all around 3-point line. And he's a power forward sized player, which we don't really have with Jalen
And
available besides Zach. He's a big body. He's kind of Jumbo Roddy, a little bit better shooter, probably less athletic, but taller, so it matters less. Definitely doesn't have the vertical pop that's needed to for defensively, but he can shoot it, and he has a little bit of money on the books, so he could back up Jalen next year in like a, you know, like it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for George
Yeah.
Niang to be my third wing. And it wouldn't be the best thing in the world. Obviously, he was in Utah, so he has played under Quinn before.
He knows the
knows what he
system,
wants.
so
Yeah. So
like
yeah, mainly just shooting and being big and in the way. He in a way, he's a new Gallo, but he's not. He's not Gallo. He's kind of the new Gallo.
I think my main thing is that George Niang just gives us a power forward that can shoot, and I'm just honestly just happy with that because I said constantly on here we need a power forward that can shoot. That I'm not a power forward that can shoot. We just need a backup power forward constantly over and over and over and over and over again. Like
Preferably one that can shoot.
Yeah, preferably one that can shoot. Now, his defense is to put it bluntly, not good. But I think if you put him next to someone like, I guess, Clint Capella, it could work.
You
maybe.
know, Trey. There are lineups that aren't that bad with
Yeah,
him in them without Jalen, but with Jalen, you gonna want to. I mean, like he could play with Jalen,
yeah,
like as a three, you know, because he can shoot, so it doesn't really matter. Like just shoot, with the right, you know, and I mean, honestly, now you get the Dyson, Terance Mann, Zach, Jesus, George Niang, whoever lineup is not. It's kind of nasty, but it should be decent enough on offense and be some kind of fun on defense. It's just more pieces to play with now,
yeah.
you know. And it's like, okay, I can put a shooter on the floor and I can put another shooter on the floor and not feel as bad. I having to put Gary out on the floor with you know, anybody really.
I mean, that's honestly, I feel like the main thing I get from this trade deadline is we can make an actual rotation now of players. Honestly, we have the actual 9-man rotation. There's no more Garrison Matthews or David. Oh my god, excuse me. David Roddy minutes. It's just we can actually have actual full caliber NBA rotation players that are actually decent. And that probably went if we had these kinds of players before, we could have won a few of these games during these past few weeks, right? I mean, do you think Marco, do you think we would go on a game winning streak if we had someone like Caris LeVert or Terance Mann or any of these guys?
You talking about like now that we have them or
Yeah,
before?
before if we had them
I
on this team.
mean,
Like
for the next few games you have coming up,
like
you can, like you said, you have real rotational players now. You don't have to. I've been preaching that this whole time we've been recording this podcast. I've said it multiple times. We didn't have depth that gives Trey and Jalen legit minutes. I mean, Trey and Jalen legit rest minutes. We just had depth that comes in, gives Trey about 5 minutes, and that's it. You just had somebody just to get Trey a little breather. That's it. You didn't have people that could actually fill the holes that you need when you get off the bench because you know our minutes without Trey is bad, but our minutes without Jalen is worse. So you've got actual guys that can come in and score on offense, can actually run an offense now, and so, you know, some other stuff. So I feel like you might go on a. I don't want to get too ahead of myself because I don't. It's going to take them a week, maybe 2 weeks to like adjust and get into play for real, for real. So you can win some games. That's all I can say. You can win some games. You're not left with a big question. 6 seed is still in play because the East is just that horrible right now. and Detroit didn't really make any moves to really get them over the hump. But they didn't really need to again because this is a new territory for them, so you don't want to rush anything. Um, so yeah, 6 seed is still in play. Just keep winning. You got defense and offense now, so keep winning, do your thing, and yeah.
I do want to ask this question. And I'll start with Chris. Um, now that we got a bunch of guards on this team, who do you think is gonna be the backup point guard, or how do you think the guard minutes are gonna be handled when Trey is gonna be on the bench?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Guard by committee. Whoever kind of has it will bring it up. I think they try to play fast anyway, so I don't know that they will try to force anyone to be like some true point guard when Trey's off. I think the offense kind of flows differently when he's gone. And yeah, it'll likely be a lot of Dyson, a lot of Terance, and I'm not sure if Bones will be here, but they do have Caris as well, so they have multiple ball handlers, and I think it'll be grab and go, and then just whoever maybe has the hot hand for that night. But yeah, it'll be just a mix of the Caris, Dyson, Terance situation.
What do you think, Leon?
Yeah, it'll definitely be by committee, like it has been a lot of the year. But I think the options are a little bit better. I think Karis is a guy who will actually look to score in transition. With a little time, I think even Terance Mann will be a guy who's more empowered to score in transition in a grab and go situation. Obviously, Dyson has been doing that. And George Niang, like he's really good 3-point shooter in transition, like just getting set, whether that be as a trailer or the guy who got ahead and ran his lane to the corner early, and that could be a good thing too. But yeah, the backup guard is because it's not a real role. It almost makes more sense to do it by committee and just have 3 guys who can handle the ball on the floor, 2 guys who can handle the ball, whether that be some collection of Dyson, Karis, even you might not see him as much moving forward, but if there's an injury, maybe even you might see Keaton still, Terance, and we think Bones is getting waived, but just more ball handling, and guys who can defend too. So that'll be really interesting moving forward, I think. And that was a great point, Chris, about how they want to play fast anyway. So you have guards who can rebound and then they can push, and it's getting kind of Josh Hardy in here, just a little bit.
What do you think, Marco?
I agree with both of them. It'd be by committee. Getting more players though that fit, more of a guard position gives options, and you also get to move beat back to a connector role instead of a primary ball handling role. And you have guys that can play off of Dyson when Dyson becomes the backup guard when Trey sits. So you like both of them said, you have guards that can grab the boards and push the ball up the court because LeVert is definitely looking to score first most 9 times out of 10. That's just his nature. So you got a solid group of guys that can do it by committee. No need to force that role on one person, but it's better than what you had. I will say, even if you bring Keaton up and let Keaton get a little bit more minutes there or whatever to give, maybe some guys some rest. I guess. Uh, got people that can still handle the ball, do what you need to do.
I'm gonna ask one more question before we get into predictions, and that's with all these players that we have, how do you think these wings will help or I guess maybe harm Okongwu on defense? Because I think possibly having all these players may be like a really big benefit for Okongwu, since Terance Mann, like you said, Leon, is kind of like Dyson in a way, with how well he is, how good he is as a defender, excuse me. LeVert is, kind of similar to Hunter, except he's shorter and stuff. and then you have Niang. But Niang's a bad defender, so if you pair him up with the Kongu, it's gonna be interesting because of his bad defense. But what do you think generally? And I'll go with you, Leon, because you unmuted yourself. You were about to say something.
Can you shorten the question and ask it one more time? Like you're asking
Basically,
me.
yeah, I'll ask you a bunch of stuff. How will all these new pieces
Oh yeah,
affect
Joe
the
was the
Congo?
Congo
Yeah,
defensively.
yeah, gel with the
I
Congo
think
defensively.
it's really interesting. I think without Jalen, it's still gonna be a little bit of sometimes it's just gonna be too much size on the floor with the other team. But against teams that are, a little bit in the middle, at least when Zach's on the floor and maybe when, you play Zach and Niang together a little bit and that might be just big enough against some teams. With those guards out in front who can defend, I think it's gonna be tough for ball handlers to get middle against us. I think it's going to be a lot more constant ball pressure. I think we're going to get more contested rebounds, especially if Clint comes back. If Clint comes back, I think we're going to be without Jalen, it's going to be rough. But I think we're going to be a pretty good rebounding team if we can keep some of these guys into next year, especially if we re-sign Clint. But it's just a lot of guys getting middle less, guys who take a couple risks, get some steals, get out in transition, and they want to play fast too. On both sides of the ball, they speed up the other team, similar to Dyson, defensively, and make quick decisions on the offensive end. So I think the pace might actually go up a little bit, because I think you got a couple guys who can execute in transition, and I think it's gonna be it's not gonna be like when it's not gonna be like when we had Jalen, but I think you're just gonna see us execute a little bit better in transition than we had in the last couple weeks as well. So I think all that leans toward a Kongu skill set. It's going to be rough without Jalen, but it has there's a route for it to be a little interesting on defense, especially with Zach. Maybe he gets a few more minutes because he is by far the tallest forward that's available. Marco, how is this going to affect a Kongwu, our starting center, our center of the future?
I was in a good mood before you said that.
Oh my god, man!
Oh, they just finally actually announced the trade while we're doing this. They just finally officially announced all our
On
trades
Hawks
on the Hawks Twitter. Yeah.
Oh, they announced Cody Zeller. Hold on, that's
Yeah. They announced
wow.
it. We'll get to that in a minute. But I feel like it's not much different now. You got better wing scorers, so you have better wing defenders. My bad. So you have more chance. Without Jalen, it's going to be hard for help side defense because now at that 4, it's kind of weird because you don't really have much size at the 4 now. Like you have George Niang, but he's only at the 4 because he's big per se, not because he's an actual 4. I think he's like 6'7", 6'8". So I could be wrong there. You can look that up while I'm talking, whatever. You can bring
That's about right.
Mo.
That's about right. 6'7",
Yeah,
6'.
you're right.
You can bring Mo up, but I think in the minutes we saw Mo, he was okay, but you can still tell he's just not used to that NBA rule. But now at this point, you might as well play him because you're going to need the size. Same with Barlow. It'd be interesting to see what they do with Barlow too. But like I said, without Jalen, you're kind of making Onyeka the sole paint protector now. So with the better wing defense you have it allows Onyeka to be in position more to actually like block the shot instead of getting there late and drawing the foul. So I feel like they help him. They help him. Yeah, that's how they help him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he'll drive ball. They'll drive ball handlers off their spots and give him a little bit more time to recover.
Yeah, and you got Terance Mann is like an underrated shot blocker. Actually, not gonna lie, he's not the best, but he kind of can block shots because he has a almost 7-foot wingspan, so he's kind of there. So hey, not saying he's the primary help defender, but you know what I'm getting at right there. So I feel like this benefits Onyeka just as it benefits the whole team. Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, yeah, it improves the ball pressure. You can put on guys. You got more defenders, so It's more helpful on the Eka. I mean, you didn't really get a power forward that protects the rim, so I don't know that he's gonna do too much defensively. I mean, I was gonna say they haven't been horrible, but they haven't really been good without Jalen. But I mean, with Zach and Dyson and now Terance, yeah, you can stop the ball a lot more and hopefully just reduce the amount of traffic at the rim. And Onyeka maybe can play a bit more drop if they can pressure the ball a bit more and switch a bit more. But yeah, I don't know how much they will do defensively. For Onyeka, you really need a Jalen type that can get off the ground. I don't know that they got one of those. But no, they did really improve their ball pressure ability, and yeah,
you know
that
they didn't
alone.
get one of those.
No, not at all. But that said, I mean, yeah, Terance Mann alone should really lengthen their defensive line capabilities, and if you you get the Dyson effect a lot more in the game, and you can kind of keep one of him, Dyson, Zach on the floor to really slow down guards for most of the game. So that should make Onyeka's job a lot easier, and he can stay at home a bit more and maybe protect him himself.
All right, and so now we're gonna go into our predictions for the next week, and it's gonna be the next week before the All-Star break. So we're gonna have Milwaukee at home Friday. That's tomorrow as we're recording this. And then we're gonna have a back-to-back against Washington on Saturday. And then Orlando, we're gonna go to Orlando on Monday. And then finally, to end it off before the All-Star break ends, we're going to go to New York on Wednesday. So, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, Leon and Chris were right with their predictions. So, congrats to them. So who wants to go first for
I got this.
predictions? Okay, go ahead.
We just all right. Hold on before I
Friday, and then it's a road trip.
Tomorrow we got the Bucks. As
Yeah.
we're recording this, we have the Bucks. Saturday we have the Wizards.
Yep.
Monday we have Orlando.
Yep.
Then before All-Star break we have the Knicks.
Yep.
Is Kyle Kuzma playing tomorrow? Do we have any word of that?
We got no clue.
I believe they told us earlier that he is playing on Friday.
You know what?
I could be wrong,
Bucks.
but I believe he's playing.
I'm actually not worried about that team. I'm saying this right now. Fuck it. I'm gonna say it. 3-1.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
And we lose to the Knicks. I hate to say that one, but we lose to the Knicks.
Positive. Marco being positive. Wow. Can't believe
hold
it.
on now. Why are we making me seem like I'm the Knicks man? That usually is one of those guys.
Crazy. That's insane. Let's go to Chris. What do you think?
I mean, 2-2. I don't really even like doing predictions. I'll be honest, but yeah, 2-2.
Okay.
Maybe they'll pick it up in the back half when the new guys get going and they can just defend a little bit longer in games. They have a chance to win them, but that's not a great stretch. They probably only beat the Wizards, but they have a chance to get to the Knicks, I guess.
Yeah, I got 2-2.
I'm gonna go with Marco's prediction too. I'm gonna say 3-1. I think we're gonna lose against Milwaukee. Well, not Milwaukee. I'm gonna say
tomato. Get your own prediction,
man. Okay. I think we're probably gonna lose against New York. Not New York. You know what? I'm gonna say 2-2. Actually, I think we're gonna lose against Milwaukee and New York. Okay. I can kick you out of this. You know that.
Use my power on the episode is crazy.
$25 subscription.
Abuse of power on the episode is crazy.
It's not crazy. It's freedom of power. But that's it for episode 20. We talked a good bit about the trade deadline. We're gonna see these new pieces probably on, I think, Saturday. They only announced the Cody Zeller trade as of this recording. So I'm assuming they're going to announce everything else tomorrow. So we will see you then for next week. And hopefully the Hawks win a bunch of games. So we will see you all then. Have a good one.
Oh, no.